April 5th, 2026, 2:32 p.m. At that moment, the earthen embankment of the Gezhuh Reservoir in Dagestan gives way. Enormous pressure breaches the dam. In a matter of seconds, a multi-ton wall of mud and water crashes down on the villages in the valley, wiping homes, roads, and human lives off the face of the earth. For thousands of people, this day will be the last day of their normal lives. What led to one of the most terrifying disasters in the modern history of Dagestan? How did a series of record-breaking downpours and the critical state of the infrastructure converge into a perfect storm? Using artificial intelligence, we have recreated minute by minute the events that led to this tragedy. Just 8 days earlier, at the end of March 2026, Dagestan was going about its usual business. In Mahachkala, a young family discusses plans for the weekend, glancing anxiously at the sky, which is overcast with clouds. In the village of Mahachkala, 79-year-old Aminat Musayeva is doing housework in the home where she has lived her entire life. In Khasavyurt, 19-year-old student Artem Mikrabov, full of plans and hopes, does not yet know that his name will become a symbol of heroism and self-sacrifice. None of them suspects that nature is already preparing a blow, and the countdown has begun.
Section 1. The First Wave. A warning that went unheeded. It all began on the night of March 28th. Torrential rains poured down on the Republic. Not just heavy rains, but the heaviest in 107 years. It was a veritable deluge from the heavens. Rivers, usually calm, instantly burst their banks. The capital, Mahachkala, took the first hit. By noon on March 28th, the city and the central regions of the Republic were plunged into chaos. Our simulation, based on meteorological data, shows how the torrents of water turned the streets into raging rivers. According to official figures, 235 homes were flooded, but in reality, the number was much higher. A family from Mahachkala, whose story we have reconstructed, woke up at 4 in the morning to find themselves surrounded by icy water. It was everywhere, rising at a terrifying speed. Within an hour, the water on the ground floor of their house was nearly up to their necks. They miraculously managed to escape by climbing onto the roof. The power grid collapsed. Flooded power plants went offline one after another, and now nearly 500,000 people in 248 settlements were left without electricity. By April 1st, authorities had declared a state of emergency in the largest cities, Mahachkala, Buynaksk, and Khasavyurt. More than 3,300 people were evacuated. It seemed as though the worst was over. The water began to recede, and people started returning to their damaged homes. But this was only a respite. The first wave of the flood was a deadly prelude to the main tragedy. It saturated the ground with water to the limit and placed a colossal, invisible strain on the entire infrastructure, especially on the old earthen dams. Section 2. The Growing Threat. The Ticking Time Bomb of the Gezhuh Reservoir. The period from April 2nd to April 4th passed in a deceptive lull. People and rescue workers cleared debris, assessed the damage, and tried to return to normal life. At the same time, as our analysis of sensor data showed, a hidden threat was becoming increasingly real. The earthen embankment of the Gezhuh Reservoir, built decades ago, had been critically weakened. We fed millions of data points into our model: soil composition, precipitation levels, historical erosion data. The conclusion was clear. The earthen embankment was saturated with moisture. Its structure was compromised. It could no longer withstand the design load. Any new influx of water, even a small one, could be fatal for it. The dam had turned into a ticking water bomb right above the heads of thousands of people. And on April 5th, a new cyclone brought that very fateful downpour. Section 3. The Disaster. A minute-by-minute reconstruction of April 5th. 2:15 p.m. The first alarming reports come in. The water level in the Gezhuh Reservoir is rising rapidly. Water is already spilling over the crest of the dam. An emergency evacuation begins, though it is too late. 2:28 p.m. Our reconstruction, based on eyewitness accounts and terrain analysis, shows this moment in detail. The first breach appears on the outer side of the dam. At first, it is a small stream, which within seconds turns into a powerful torrent, washing away the soil. The pressure of millions of tons of water seeks an outlet. 2:32 p.m. Collapse. A huge section of the earthen embankment simply dissolves under the force of the elements. A wall of water, mud, and debris, as tall as a 3-story building, rushes into the valley at the speed of a train. The village of Gezhuh is the first in its path. The people have no chance. The torrent sweeps away everything: houses, trees, cars, leaving nothing but a smooth layer of silt. It is here, in her home, that 79-year-old Aminat Musayeva perishes. While Gezhuh is wiped off the map, a 3-story apartment building collapses in Makhachkala, its foundation having been washed away by the very first wave. Fortunately, about 300 residents had managed to evacuate a few hours earlier.
But the village of Adilotara faces the worst fate of all. Our simulation shows how 2 streams of water, encircling the village from different sides, converge into a deadly ring. Within minutes, 100% of the village is submerged. People take refuge on rooftops. There is no communication. The evacuation turns into a race against time. And here, the residents of neighboring villages, Siuka, Michurino, and the Babayurt district, become heroes. In their Kamaz trucks and boats, risking their lives, they rush to the rescue. All night long, in complete darkness, they rescue people from the floodwaters. Thanks to their courage, Adilotar managed to avoid any loss of life. But about 2,500 people were rescued, having lost everything they owned, and all the livestock, the main source of wealth for local farmers, perished. Section 4. The Aftermath. The Price of Survival. By the morning of April 6th, the scale of the tragedy had become clear. From a bird's-eye view, as our AI reconstruction shows, the disaster zone looked like a post-apocalyptic landscape. Where once there were flourishing villages and fields, there was now a vast brown sea. The official figures are dry, but behind each one lies a human tragedy. 7 people died, including children. More than 3,500 buildings were damaged. 760 homes were completely flooded. In the Hasavurt district alone, 114 homes were deemed beyond repair. 43,000 people applied to the authorities to be recognized as victims. During these dark days, not only the worst that nature is capable of, but also the best in humanity came to light. Volunteers began pouring into the disaster zone from across the Republic. Among them was 19-year-old Artem Mikrabov. From the very first days, he was right in the thick of it, in the village of Mamedkala, helping to clear debris, salvage belongings, and distribute humanitarian aid. He worked without sleep or rest, driven by a single desire: to help. Chapter 5. The Price of Heroism and an Analysis of the Tragedy. The fate of Artem Mikrabov became a distinct, heart-wrenching chapter in this tragedy. On April 11th, after several days of grueling work, he began to feel ill. After falling from the back of a Kamaz truck, he suffered a severe head injury. He was airlifted to the intensive care unit in Makhachkala. Doctors fought to save his life for several days, but they were unable to save him. The young man who had come to rescue others became a victim of this disaster himself. His death is the price of heroism that society has paid. When the water receded, the search for answers began. We tasked our artificial intelligence with conducting a comprehensive analysis of the causes that led to the tragedy. The analysis showed that while the disaster could not have been entirely prevented, its scale could have been significantly reduced. We identified 3 key factors. The first is climatic. Record-breaking rainfall, triggered by global climate change, served as the trigger. Infrastructure designed according to last century standards proved unprepared for such challenges. The second factor was infrastructure-related. The earthen embankment of the Gezhuh Reservoir, weakened by the first wave, was not inspected in time. The precious days between the 2 natural disasters were wasted. And the third was human error. The warning system proved insufficiently effective. Evacuation from the most dangerous areas began too late, when the flood could no longer be stopped. According to preliminary estimates by the Dagestan government,
The total cost of compensation to the victims exceeded 4 billion rubles, but no amount of money can bring back the 7 lives lost, heal the wounds of those who lost their homes, or ease the pain of losing a hero like Artem Mikrobov. The tragedy in Dagestan in April 2026 served as a harsh reminder of how fragile our world is in the face of nature. It showed how everything that seemed unshakable can be destroyed in a matter of minutes, but it also demonstrated the incredible strength of the human spirit, solidarity, and a willingness to sacrifice oneself. The stories of the rescuers from Adilotara and the heroic deed of Artem Mikrobov will forever remain in our memory as proof that even in the darkest times, the light of humanity does not fade. This reconstruction is not merely a chronicle of events. It is an attempt to draw lessons to prevent similar tragedies in the future. To make sure you don't miss our next investigations, subscribe to the channel. We will continue to analyze complex events to understand how they unfold and what they can teach us.